Well, hello folks, welcome along to the Passion for FM YouTube channel. I am the Custard Prophet and this is Football Manager Focus. Get excited people, this is a new series on the channel. It will be appearing fairly regularly, not an exact schedule sorted out yet, but we're all very excited about it. So in this series, we'll be focusing down on one specific area of the Football Manager game. It might be the likes of tactics or training or something completely different. And in each episode, I will invite 3 Football Manager creators to come over and give me their opinions on this particular topic. We have a discussion which lasts about an hour in a podcast style episode. It's going to be fantastic. If that sounds like your cup of tea, well, make sure you hit that like button on the video and subscribe to the channel, because as I said, there will be more of these coming in the near future after FM22 drops. So if you watch this all the way through and you enjoy the episode, well, I did actually make a pilot episode of this, which is on my own channel. I'll link that down in the description below. The focus there was lower league management. Right then, so what are we going to be talking about today? Well, we're debuting this series on Passion for FM and we're going to be talking about the Journeyman save. Let's get into it. This is the Football Manager Focus, and the focus for today's video is going to be the Journeyman save. And as a result of this, I have recruited 3 of the greatest minds that have ever been.
When are they showing up?
I think they're coming up next.
With a warm-up act.
I've got 3 of the greatest minds in relation to the Journeyman save, and I'm very excited to have a chat with them. So let's introduce who we have. First of all, my first guest, and there is no one else who you would want on a show like this when relating to the Journeyman save. It is the man who pretty much popularised the Journeyman save back in the early days of Football Manager on YouTube. I think that's fair enough to say. He's also the reason that I'm a content creator. So you know you've got that to.
Hey, it's not my fault. You're to blame. I'm sorry. I can't help what happens. All right.
It is Loki Doki. Thank you very much for coming along.
No worries, mate. Hello.
Hello. Secondly, I have someone slightly more exotic from all the way over in the great US of A. I can't exactly remember exactly where in the US of A you are.
Minnesota, north.
Minnesota. I knew it started with an M.
Basically, yeah. Yes. Yep.
But there's a lot of places that start with an M, which is the bad thing about America, I suppose. And you're also, I guess, you're also very effective at reverse parking rather large trucks, at least virtually. I've been enjoying your ATS saves over the last 6 months. It's Zilla Blitz.
Hi, everybody.
And finally,
Zilla, is this the? Hang on, you said butt in. Hang on, I'm butting in, so I'm going in early.
Go for it.
Zilla, is this the first time you've been called exotic?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought so. I just wanted to check. Yeah, it's
an
unusual. Yeah.
I'm called a lot of things, but usually not anything good. So.
Most of them you can't hear on YouTube, but yeah.
Right. Exotic can be both good and bad.
Right.
And finally, and not to leave him out, my final guest is at least in the top 10 Football Manager creators, based or not based, who have lived in Plymouth at some point in their lives. It is that trucking Football Manager.
15.
There are
top 15, top 20.
There are a lot of people who make Football Manager content who live in Plymouth or have lived in Plymouth. But it's kind of the youth development centre of FM creators.
It's good though, because I got exotic myself and I moved to Bristol. So, you know, it's exotic now. And I want to put myself on the list of people who you can blame Loki Doki for existing, because I became a creator because of him as well. So all letters to him.
Yeah,
we
were chatting before.
And all the other stuff too, to be honest. All the little boxes with the things, send them to him. It's not my fault. He did it.
We're chatting beforehand. I'm the same way. So.
It's collateral damage. It's collateral damage.
We are your children. Your children, Loki.
Oh God, I am so disappointed. I thought my children would be so much better.
Disciples, cult followers.
Right then. So let's get into it. Let's chat Journeyman. And first thing I wanted to talk about was kind of where it kind of began. I mean, Loki, you started out making content when? Sort of FM 15, something like that? 16?
16, I think. Yeah, 5 years I've been doing it now.
16,
so, yeah.
FM 16. And as far as I remember, not that I was watching you back then, because I didn't even know it existed on YouTube. Your first Journeyman was kind of the Harry Owen.
Yes.
Harry Owen save, which that's where I started watching your content, and it was
that's where most people found me. That one, I think
it was. I mean, that was quite something. But I was kind of wondering, kind of up until that, because that was probably FM 17, something like that. Mm-hmm. What did the landscape of FM content creation look like at that sort of time?
Very sparse. I think the content creators probably list on one hand. There was Dr. Benji, Golden FM, Work the Space. Can't think of any others that are as old as those three. And it was, I'm not even sure which video it was. It was one of those that was random, because I'm like, I was like, for some reason, I've been playing Football Manager all my life, and I've been watching YouTube for 15 years. But I didn't put the two together until randomly got suggested a Football Manager. I was like, oh, people do this. That was kind of my thing. And I think it was nearly entirely Let's Plays, I think. Back in the day.
That's kind of what I'd imagine. So what was it that kind of gave you the inspiration then to decide to go down a different route, get down this kind of this Journeyman route?
I think it was back in the days of when the sort of forums, the SI forums, were really popular and stuff, and people would post their stories of their saves, basically in like almost like a blog fashion, but in these forums. And my personal way of playing was always very much a one club type save, small team, work your way up type personal things. And when I started doing YouTube, I did a couple of those, and then it was like, I want to do something different. And I just had a quick look, didn't really see anything on YouTube, and I'd read these blogs before, and I was like, what about doing something like that, where you just play a little bit more realistically? And then immediately, because I've got a weird brain, was like, but what about if you actually lived in the countries that you were managing in? So why not, when you get paid, you have to go and rent a house for that much money and see if you can live there for that much, and where you're going to put the dogs and stuff. Like playing in Hong Kong was really tricky because we only had a tiny apartment, and just adding all the sort of randomness to it. I think it gives it so much more scope for silly stuff and random rules and stuff.
Yeah, and definitely I want to get on to the random rules, because there's been some awesome random rules in the saves that you've done over the years. So, I mean, I know when you kind of started out in the sort of content creation world, you were quite focused on the numbers. You had like a spreadsheet and sort of tracking how you were doing in relation to other channels. So I guess you really have the answer to this, whether that Journeyman save was the thing that really kind of kicked you into sort of the big time and really started getting people interested in the content that you were making, or was it already happening before? And do you reckon you would have been as successful if you hadn't have done that?
I think, I would say it's definitely, I had if you look back at my numbers, it's pretty sort of steady momentum. There was you get the big spike every time a new game comes out because there's just naturally more viewers and stuff. But that Journeyman, was it FM 17, was ironically the two biggest series I would say that people say they found me from it is either that Journeyman or my Motorsport Manager series, like little niche little game that, that not many people played and stuff. So those are the two. But I think that definitely propelled it because it had the silly skits in it. The way that the Journeyman is let out is perfect for that stuff, ending up in girls' dormitory of Cardiff Met Uni because they didn't pay me anything, so I had to live in the dorms and stuff like that happening and everything. So I think it makes everything. I think as a Let's Play, I think it's more interesting for the casual viewer, I'd say, because as a casual viewer, you can drop off interest and then I go to a new club 10, 15 episodes later, and they can go, oh, I don't have to watch it all the way. I can just start from this club. It gives a sort of jumping on point to new viewers, whereas a one team save, it's hard. You don't really get new viewers. It's like if I was building, if you look at my channel now, I'm doing the opposite of what you do if you wanted growth on a channel. I'm at episode 150 of a one club save.
Yeah.
You know, and if I wanted to just sort of, I was about growth or whatever, it would be a very drastic, different looking channel.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely right. But you've done what you needed to do to get the people watching that you need, and you probably don't need any. Well, you're not aiming for that sort of 100,000 subs that Dr. Benji just hit.
Yeah, it's an irrelevant number. It's nice, but it can rule you. I've been around YouTube before as a creator for a long, long time. I've seen so many YouTubers, small and big, get so fixated on numbers that it rules your life. It rules how happy you are day in, day out. You know, if you didn't have a good week's growth, that, you know, you're going to be miserable and stuff like that. And I did early on, because I'm a marketing guy, I'm a business brain guy, the numbers and everything for that first sort of year and a half. But it was after that, it was like, okay, I'm making enough money I don't care about being rich. I'm making enough money to live now. Now I can just not worry about that stuff, you know, just enjoy it, do stuff that hopefully other people, like-minded people will like. And it's not, you know, that's the reason there's been no adverts on the channel. I've been offered hundreds by now of terrible products and services and VPNs and, you know, all these sort of things. And it's just like, nah, that's not what I'm here for. Like, that's not, unless it was something really good that I actually use or something actually useful, then I'm not just going to shill any old crap.
Fair enough.
I think if I can butt in a little bit, I think there's one thing though that struck me about the way you approach the Journeyman is that you're focused on that journey part, and the success is kind of not the main focus.
Yeah.
And I think you see a lot of YouTube channels where people, it's like, we got to get to know, we're hyper focused on being the best, on showing people how good it is and really digging into the tactics and tweaking all this stuff.
Yeah.
But you're just like enjoying the ride, you know? And so
I think
funny stuff happens and you embrace the failure part of it too.
That's my favorite thing. Like a relegation
exactly,
battle or random stuff is the best thing. I think occasionally somebody will say to me, like in a sort of serious manner in my comments, you should have read the rules. How did you not understand that that's the way this league rule worked, this very specific circumstance? And I was like, because I'm not going to spend 10 minutes, that's dull, of just looking through the rules of the league. I'll have a quick look, see how many subs you can use, see how many teams get in the Champions League. And then occasionally random stuff happens. And that's the best bit of all, you know.
You'll remember the moment when you discovered that the Scottish Premier League was splitting. That was a beautiful moment at Fort William.
I remember that one too. I mean, the comments that you get, that's as entertaining as watching your videos sometimes. How seriously people are taking it. And
most people get it now because they've been around long enough, so they'll understand that this is just the way I play the game, sort of thing.
But it is like Zilla says, it is a completely different take on it, but it's a very realistic take in the same time, because not every manager is going to be super successful. Not every manager is just going to vault up the leagues all the time. You're always going to have a sticky patch, and that sticky patch is just as entertaining. And getting out of a relegation battle is just as entertaining as getting into the top two or whatever.
Oh yeah, like, do you think people enjoy watching someone start off in the conference and get promoted every season and then they're in the Premier League for 2 years and then they win it? Like, that's great that you're good enough that you can do that and stuff. And there is a small percentage of people that just want to know for the best and the best tactics, exactly, you know. But for entertainment purposes, that's not fun.
Well, it's exactly what put me off another big channel. That's the thing. It's exactly what put me off another big channel, which I don't watch anymore, which I won't name for decency's sake. But it just got ridiculous. It was just promotion, top scorer. It's like, this isn't fun.
Yeah.
I certainly don't have that problem.
Not for wanting to try it, but
all my success was in the Americas. That's what I'm saying.
And that Journeyman that you had, TTFM in, the South American Journeyman. That, I mean, just tell everyone about the quality of that save, because it was something else.
That save was the absolute archetype of the best journeyman you could possibly have. I did a no badges save in all of the Americas. It was meant to be all of the Americas. I mean, it was South America exclusively because that's how well it went. It was a no badges, unemployed save. I got a job in the bottom tier of Chilean football and got relegated and fired, and then waited a year and a half to get a job in the bottom tier of Paraguayan football, then got relegated and fired and couldn't get another job because there weren't enough low-level jobs available. And that was the end of that save.
I like the game, after a certain amount of time unemployed and nobody else, the game window should pop up and says, look, mate, maybe we should just, what, do you want to quit? Just new game? How about we start a new game? Give it another go. Sort of.
I holidayed for 18 months. I was not offered a single interview, let alone a job.
Maybe you should try FIFA. You know?
Yeah,
that was
awesome.
rather underqualified for my position, I think. The thing is that in those leagues, there aren't enough teams at the very bottom level. Yeah. That a team has to, right at the beginning of the game, a team has to be willing to take a punt on you. Where obviously if you're doing Europe, there's always a lower team.
Yeah.
There's always the Northern Irish third tier, which will hire literally anyone. No. I got a job at Tobermoor United. Right. Tobermoor United in a Journeyman in FM 20, I think it was. I couldn't get out of there into the Swedish second tier for about 5 years, but it was complete amateur football, no wages, no money, no nothing. There's always a level that you can fall to in Europe, which just didn't exist in the Americas.
Another thing about the Journeyman is that in future iterations of FM, we're going to have women's football, and I'm hoping that could be incorporated into it, so you can do some. Start off maybe in women's football and sort of work your way up and be top manager, and then go into the men's game at a certain level or whatever. Yeah, because it'll just make an interesting route with another aspect of the Journeyman type save that you can travel around and jump back and forth, or maybe start off in women's football. You know, because I think I'd love to have under 18s and under 23s, under 21s football management in there. I think that would be amazing. But I think any way that you can expand the different layers that you can play as a football manager, that's great.
I'm just excited because I think it's probably my most wished for feature over the past 2 or 3 years, just because of what statement it says to like women that are playing. Like, I have a daughter that's playing college soccer here in the US and stuff like that, and just see the differences like that. You know, it's been a man's world for a long time.
Yeah, they've just introduced women players to FIFA, haven't they? In the pro clubs, you can now make your player a female.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
So men and women play alongside each other in the pro clubs, sort of thing.
Oh, wow.
So that's cool. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, I'm excited about it.
And I think we have to come to you, Zilla, who has put your own spin on the Journeyman in a way that I've not seen anyone else do. Do you want to just describe your particular concept?
Well, this is like, I think, my third year doing stuff, and I just wanted to say, like, I didn't mean to start doing a Journeyman. Like, the very first one was FM 19. I've been away from the game
forced Journeyman.
Yeah, exactly. I ended up actually calling it the unintentional Journeyman because I started and then I got sacked in my first job, and then I ended up in like Northern Ireland or something like that, and then finally got a job back at level 6 in Panorama and stuff like that, and then I got sacked again, and it's like, okay, I guess I got to get a little bit better at this game. But yeah, no, I was thinking, so my result for the one that I did this year is I'm interested in exploring, like, what can we do that like hasn't been done before? And one of the problems I had was over the pandemic, I just kept putting on weight, because like you're sitting in Zoom meetings all day and stuff like this. Yeah. And I just kept I was putting on like a pound, like a half kilo every month. And so I'm like 15 pounds heavier now. And I'm like, okay, I got to figure out a way to try to do this. And so my question was like, how might we combine Football Manager with like better health or getting in better shape? And so the rough idea that somehow, I don't remember how it all kind of pieced together, but was, what if you can only move between clubs in the game when you've walked or exercised the equivalent distance in real life?
Oh, yeah, wow, that's very good, yeah.
So that's what I started out doing. And then my original intent was to start like in Athens and try to make it all the way to England, like a straight line journey. Yeah. But then I said, for this first time, let's just pick a random spot. So I ended up starting in the Czech Republic. And then it couldn't go to the same country, like a couple rules, like there's little surrounding rules and stuff like that. But yeah, it's worked out really well. We're at Tottenham now, almost done. Well, I don't know, almost done. Supposed to try to get to like a Champions League final game. That's the end of it.
Have you won the league yet?
No, I just got to Tottenham.
Okay.
So we've only played like 10 matches or so, something like that with them. So, but yeah, the part that I think has been fun is that it's been kind of motivating me to get out off my butt and get outside and kind of walk and stuff like that. And Minnesota gets pretty cold, it's like minus 40 degrees here, centigrade. Yeah. It's the same and stuff like that, but just out taking the dog for walks and stuff. And so I stopped gaining weight. And I think over the course of the 9 months now, I've dropped, not a lot, but I feel a heck of a lot better, and it's motivating. It's like, okay, I got to get to
I want to get out of this country, so I need to go jogging.
right. It's like, okay, I really want to get to France. It's like, okay, how am I going to get there? It's like, okay, I got to go out and do like a 5-mile walk here or something like that. So it's been a lot of fun.
It just, the concept of you walking essentially from like the south of France all the way to the south of England just blows my mind completely, because I barely walk a mile most of the time.
Yeah, see, if I did that save, I wouldn't have walked. Therefore, I'd only be able to move clubs within like a half a mile radius of the other club. So there would just be like 3 clubs or something in London that I could go to.
Run around in circles.
But how do you think it's been received? Because it seems to have. Your channel's kind of blown up a little bit to some degree in recent times, and I'm not sure whether that relates to the Journeyman that you're doing or some of the other stuff that you're doing. But how have you found this sort of reception of that kind of style of save?
It's been really positive. I think there's been a number of people that have followed it throughout. I think Loki Doki was talking about, you get to a certain point in the FM cycle and people see like Club 4 episode 17 and they're like, yeah, I'm not jumping in, and I think now it's kind of the waning things. There's only my 3rd year doing it. It's a crowded landscape. I just really like doing it. It's fun to do. So I'm not really worried about the numbers. And for me, I think, they were getting like probably 80 to 100 views, which is nothing for someone who's got a channel, but it was fun to have a following and people commenting, and like it builds up a community.
The numbers are all relative though, aren't they? Like,
for sure.
If KSI was looking at your numbers, he'd go, well, these don't even register on my radar. But like, when you're starting out and you've just got a few hundred subs and you get those viewers and you hit double figures and triple figures for views, it's like, it's all relative. It's just.
Well, I know the first one, it was like, I got 3 viewers. It's like, that's awesome.
And then you realize they were all you.
They disappear, it adjusts, and it goes down to 1 again. You're like, yeah.
You're quite right about the scaling though, because sitting here where I am, 80 views would be lovely because I'm on about 20-ish on average, and it's like I'm still very happy with that. And I'm a bit like you, Zilla. I don't really care anymore. I spent a while trying to get up the ladder, but it's not why I'm doing it. I'm doing it to have fun. And when you start stressing about the fact you haven't got enough views,
you can force yourself to then burn out on a hobby that you loved before. And even the game, if you push yourself and you're worrying about you like you say, you forget that you did it. You started because it was fun, and you started chasing the numbers and the stuff, and
then people can see that you're not enjoying it, and then it's not as good to watch.
Because then you're making videos that you don't want to make. You're making videos because they hit certain demographics or numbers or whatever. And I think
and I feel fortunate. I think there's been probably maybe 40, 50 people that have followed all the way through and comment. And we do a little competition, like guess the point total every year, and people keep playing that and stuff like that. And it's that community part's been really cool too. Yeah. Just the fact that, and I think just as a creator, it's really fun when you make something and you see someone else genuinely enjoy it. There's kind of like, I still can't believe that happens, but there's a certain like kind of joy there that I think is just, it just feels good when you make someone, and it's like
I've done this thing all the way through. I've done YouTube, is that sometimes because you're seeing numbers constantly as a YouTuber, you're seeing views and likes and dislikes and comments and growth. Like there's numbers everywhere, and and when sometimes you can say you've had a bad month, and then let's say you're sitting at 300 subscribers, just as an example, right? And you say, no, I had a bad month and stuff, and then you think about it and go, imagine you're sitting at your computer playing Football Manager, and there's 300 people behind you, like in a clubhouse somewhere or something, or in a leisure centre, and that's bonkers. That's nuts. That's a massive crowd of people watching you play Football Manager. Like that's ridiculous. But that's a small number compared to some and stuff. And I've always done that. Like I do it with Football Grounds. So when I hit certain, I'm like, oh my God, I can fill with my subscribers. I can fill Bournemouth Stadium now. Like those sort of milestones. And imagine you sitting on the centre circle at Anfield and it's full and people are watching your video. It's just crazy.
Now I'm going to be really nervous when I make another episode.
Crapping yourself.
Like, wow, there's like 100 people watching. Damn, I never thought about it that way.
But it really puts things into perspective because you lose sight of the fact that they're actual people, and
That's true.
It just becomes numbers. So if you remind yourself, 100 people just watched my video, that's a massive crowd of people that have just watched your video. Like,
I think that's really, really easy to forget. I know I've never actually thought about it in the context of football grounds. For some reason, even though it's Football Manager, I've always thought about it in random modes of transport, like a jumbo jet and things like. I don't know why.
You can fill a jumbo jet.
I can fill
Large
the ferry that
minivan
goes from Santander to Portsmouth.
Or the Ryanair flight to Jersey. Fill that up right now.
Like my first year is like a bicycle. You know?
Yeah.
I was going to say, at the minute,
I can
I'm on
fill
one
a
of those stretch limos.
unicycle.
I can fill a unicycle. Yeah, this is awesome. We're rocking the house.
So I guess one of the things that often happens, certainly with the Journeyman saves that I think all of you guys do on YouTube, particularly. I don't know outside of YouTube, but it tends to be a sort of a hero type figure emerges. So the likes of Harry Owen, or I'm trying to think of in Zilla's save, was it FM Greeno's nephew, who was.
Griffith. Yeah, we renamed him.
And various other people. So, do you? I'm sort of asking all of you, do you kind of engineer that to happen, or does it happen naturally for you?
Completely natural for me. I've never tried to influence a Journeyman in that way because I want it to be as natural as it can be. And sometimes, this latest one, Jordan Buckley, comes out of absolutely nowhere and ends up scoring 35 and 20, and then it's like, holy smokes, who's this? And then someone on Twitter goes, this is who it actually is. He's scored 4 goals in the last 2 seasons, but that sort of figure just appears out of nowhere. And you sort of stoke it a little bit. Maybe you put a bit of extra kindling on it, and you bring him along to the next club when you might not have done, were you being completely neutral. But no, I certainly don't make a special point of going off and trying to find someone who can be that figure, because how many times does it not work, if nothing else?
For me, it's like, again, I don't engineer it, but I'm always on the lookout for it. But in the same way that I do if I'm playing on my own, if I'm playing a one-club save and I find a young striker and nurture him through the ranks, I would have that same storyline in my head, playing it myself anyway. I had a player called Hagrid. I think we nicknamed him Hagrid. He's a right back. I can't even remember what it was. He missed training, and then I then joked about a storyline with one of the other players, and it started kicking off. And he was just a little shit on the pitch, off the pitch. He was missing training and stuff like this. And this was probably like 4 years ago this happened. And to this day, somebody does something dickish. Somebody in the comments goes, "Oh, he's a proper Hagrid, that one." That's what I love, those sort of in-jokes that have carried forward years. And those players.
But like, I want to find like the worst city in the world and then sell them to the crappiest club there.
And
say, good luck with that.
And stuff. And they're like having the sort of Dutch Masters that I had at Liverpool with the trio of Dutch strikers that was amazing. And that sort of thing, is what you hope for, but sometimes it doesn't happen, and sometimes they just pop out of the blue, or random storylines will happen.
So I guess, the Journeyman does tend to throw up some really bizarre situations, sort of crazy coincidences, strange league rules, and various other things. So what are your best stories in relation to those things?
Mine's one I've told before. It's the one that I get asked a lot about Journeyman and stuff, and it's one of the few things. Right, there's 2 things in the world that get me angry when I talk about them. One is losing planning permission when I had to go to a local council to open a doggy daycare centre a few years ago, and the planning committee didn't give me planning permission despite spending about $5,000 on doing sound tests and stuff. It was a nightmare, and it angers me. And the other one is the Uruguayan average points relegation based over 2 years, not knowing that I came into the club in the second year and fucking heroically, not even just saved for relegation, we were like mid-table, just edging top half. And then at the end of the season, I'm like, right, what we're going to do next season? We're planning. And it just says, yeah, you've been relegated. And it took me ages to work out why I'd been relegated, because it didn't say anywhere. And I was like, even in the rules, it was really convoluted the way it was all written and stuff. then we worked out last season, they come bottom of the league, rock bottom by like 20 points. So even though I'd got such a high points total, and it was just, that was the funniest, best moment.
Yeah, that was. I think that's one of my favourite moments from your channel in general. It
took me 5 minutes of a video to work out why I'd been relegated, and I couldn't see how I'd been relegated after finishing mid-table. Because on the outside, that makes no sense if you just look at it that way. Still angers me. Not over it.
There's smoke pouring out the top of your beanie, I'm just saying.
I think one that jumps to my mind was that there's the whole promotion, and this was a stupid, just like an away goals rule. And we were in Austria this year, and it's one of those leagues where there's I think 6 leagues, and then even if you win the league, you have to then go in this like playoff with like a whole bunch of teams, and who knows how they seed the teams and everything like that. And then you have to win the whole playoff. And then you have to I don't know.
You feel like you have to win a gauntlet to just get promoted. It's just like, Jesus.
Yeah, we won, and then we were losing or something like that. And then it went to we were losing on away goals, but it was even. And I thought for sure it was done. So at the end of this episode, I'm like, oh God. And then you're doing that whole thing. It's like, God, we have to spend another year here at this same level. And you just won it. So you're like, I don't want to do that again. And you're thinking, how's it going to be interesting and stuff? But so I was sitting there, and then it comes up, is it like, we're going to play extra time. I was like, what? We get extra time? Seriously?
I've done that so many times. And every time it happens, at the end of I'll be like 85th minute of a cup match of some description in the league. And I'll say, is it extra time? Do I need to attack here? Because I'm not even sure if I need to go attacking. Like, it's 1-1, but it's away goals count, and I end up like, and I just know somebody's in the comments just they're going bright red, raging at the fact that I'm not just going to check the rules. I'm just going to go attacking.
Can you even check them in the middle of a game? Because as I always think of, it's like,
sort of jump out of the game and then go to the league and then the rules. I think you could probably.
Because I would just sit there at like the 85-minute thinking, I know, again, I should have checked the rules before I started. No matter how many times it's happened, I can't do that.
That would kind of be a good feature, though, wouldn't it, in FM? If your assistant suddenly came along and sort of mentioned something related to the rules.
Yeah, finally a useful bit of advice in the game. Hey, boss, just so you know, we need to go attacking because it's...
We all end up like at the end of that one Arsenal Reading game where the players are all throwing their kits into the crowd and then find out with extra time afterwards and have to get it all back.
It's a lot better than the ones I'm getting now, which are the ones like they're telling me a player on the other team is hurt and I have to sub for him. It's like, what's going on with that? Have you got that bug yet?
No.
Or subbing you out when you've already used all your subs and stuff.
Oh, yeah, I get that one. Yeah. The suggestion. I subbed him off 20 minutes ago. Is my assistant blind or something? Dude, I'm paying you 40 grand a week with the simplest things. Look at the numbers. You're like Smara in the coach form.
It's the one that sits there for ages after you've just missed the penalty, saying, Bruce Anderson will take the penalty. Would you like to change him? Yes, I'd love to change him because he missed the damn thing. I mean, talking of the rules thing, I remember what you said about getting stuck in a league. It wasn't a Journeyman, but it was my Berlin save, where at my branch of the 4th tier of German football had no automatic promotion spot, even though all the other branches did. So if you were in any other region, you got promoted for winning the league, but the region I was in, you didn't. And then you still had to fight through, God knows, or even if you won the league, you still had to fight through about 8 legs of playoffs to get a chance to get into the 3rd tier of German football. It's like I just got stuck there. I just couldn't get out.
That's one of the hardest bits is when there's a really convoluted playoff system or something. And it's like you have to win 8 best of 3 matches in a row and win the World Cup. And then you get qualified to the Austrian 2nd division. Congratulations. But
you sit there and you go, there comes a point where this is just going to be boring for everyone. I don't want to give up on a save I've been on for 10 seasons. Yeah. But at the same time, this is just going to get boring. And when it's not a Journeyman, I realise I'm off topic, then what do you do then? You just sit there and go, okay, we'll play another season of a regional league in Nordost. Cool. This will be good. And
that is the fun thing about Journeyman. It's I wish real life were like that. No matter how badly you screw it up, you're like, I resign. I'm out of here.
Yeah, laters. Let me just see quickly.
Fix
job search.
I'll go break someplace else.
Yeah, I have spent so much money at your club. You are heavily in debt, so I'm just going to leave now. Okay, a question for all of you then. Stealing entirely your video now.
Yeah, go for it.
when you're, generally speaking, if you're doing some sort of journeyman save, when you leave a club, do you try to leave it in a better position than when you left it, or do you not give a shit? Like, do you spend all the money, or do you like, oh, I upgraded their training facilities?
That depends on the board. If the board were good to me, got me through badges, gave me what I asked for, I will try not to screw them over. If the board were like, no, you can't have training facilities, no, you can't have more wage, no, you can't have a coaching badge.
No, you can't have an affiliate club.
No, sod them. Absolutely sod them. Burn them to the ground. I don't care. But if they're good to me, I'll try and be good back to them.
Okay.
I think I've always got good intentions to do that sort of things. I don't necessarily follow through with them though.
I was going to say there was a but that was coming. It's like,
I think for me, I'm still always I'm playing the journeyman like I'm going to be there for 5 years, and I keep having reminding myself that.
Yeah, I do the same. No, yeah,
I'm leaving in 2 years. So
I've signed all these amazing 17-year-olds. Like, in 5 years' time, they're going to be world class. I plan to be here for a year. Like,
or spend like an hour like pruning the U18s. It's like, why? Why am I doing this? They're never going to play for us. You know?
But I bet in all of your saves at the minute, you're still doing that, even though FM22 is coming out in like a month's time. So I know I am.
Yeah.
That is one thing I've stopped. Like I think I was at one. I don't even think we had a U18 staff anymore. I'm just not going to spend it. I don't like. There's so many staff, right? The hiring staff.
So
it's like
save the budget.
Well,
right. It's like the U18s. Just give them a bag of balls. They're fine. They're good.
We all learned on the streets anyway. We didn't need.
The only problem
Gascoigne didn't need a 3D pitch, did he?
And the only problem then is you get your assistants telling you, like, your U18 could probably use a manager. It's like, oh, okay. And you get all those messages about all the staff that you don't have. But yeah, it's good.
Well, Costa Prophet, you'll know the uniqueness of where I am at the minute on my journeyman, where I don't have that problem because they don't have a youth system of any kind, and they refuse to let me have one. Literally, I've never before seen there is no youth recruitment. There is no youth coaching.
Wow.
Of any kind. Full
just
Kirk, if you're interested.
Okay, they're just giving up on it.
Yeah, they're just and I can't convince them to give me any either, even though I know, again, it doesn't
maybe
matter.
1 year they were looking around Full Kirk and were like, there's no good footballers here. Should we just stop worrying about that?
But that's the thing, is it's just like, I mean, just round up some kids from the park and give them a football each and a Snickers or something, and it'll be fine. But
you might get arrested for that, to be honest.
Well,
yeah. Put them in the back of your van, it'll be fine. Yeah, it'll be great.
Kids want some candy?
Yeah. Come out and kick around. I've got a bag of balls here. Do you want to have a look? Yeah, it's not going to. I'm not sure about that as a defence in court is going to go down. I'm just trying to get a youth team. I see your honour.
So we kind of sort of talking that FM sort of is coming towards the end of the current FM21 cycle, with FM22 features kind of being revealed in that video, which was not entirely clear what they were revealing. What features would you like to see implemented that would improve the journeyman experience?
I'd like the under 18s, under 21 management positions to be available. I'd love the idea of, say, managing, I don't know, Bournemouth's under 18s as a starting job and having to deal with not selling players because I ain't got that luxury, but having a good team and stuff. But then one of my players playing well and then he gets called up to the senior squad and having to deal with that and stuff. And maybe having, rather than, you've got your club vision and goals and what you're supposed to achieve this season, it should be more on development rather than winning a youth league of any description. It's like, no, we want to see solid development in these players sort of thing. And I think that it feels like a more natural start into, because obviously the football manager can only be so detailed, and some countries, the default leagues don't go low enough. So sometimes you're like at jobs you really shouldn't be, probably, for your level of qualifications, because it sort of jumps up a little bit too fast. But yeah, an under 21s, under 18s management option, please.
I can think of a couple things from you. One is I'd like to see more of a connection in the game between the manager's salary and the manager's life. So like the salary kind of means something, and whether that, I mean, a lot of games have like, you kind of can get an apartment or you can buy cars and you can get married, but I'd like to see that manager's life evolve more and be part of the game. Like a lot of that stuff that you're imagining and you create on the side where, hey, here's what our apartment looks like, here's what our stuff like, but to kind of pull that in. So there's some kind of a connection, because right now the number's meaningless, right? in the game. You know, it's like, okay, I'm
you can't even pay for
a
your own coaching course.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Like the old was it FIFA Manager that used to have? You could go out and get a wife and a car and stuff.
Right.
Imagine in a Journeyman save that you move to Bulgarian second division and your missus is like, I'm not happy here.
Right.
Imagine that sort of scenario where she comes out and says, look, I'm really not settled in here. We have to.
And that connects me to the second thing that nobody's ever liked this idea when I've said it, but I would love to see the game have more kind of like those esoteric events. You know, the things that like that, like you have a player who is just completely, we get that sometimes you get these rare things like where a player's unhappy and their levels will drop down, but to really to kind of push that button more so that like things break.
Random stuff. I think that the argument's always been from Sports Interactive that for legal reasons you can't do things to real life players.
That's fine.
You can't say Rooney was out caught shagging a granny in case, you know, people might think he'd done that for real. So I think, but you could do it for the regens. You could say if that was a sort of safe way. So when any regens and
they don't necessarily have to necessarily be those controversial things.
Yeah,
you know, they could be just something
simple stuff.
Yeah, simple stuff like that. That creates.
Well, that's what in a video I made for FM22 with talking about stuff I want to see. I was like, I want to see a dynamic world. I want to see rules and leagues change because nothing ever changed unless it's set in stone now that in 2025 the rule is changing in the Iranian third division. Mm-hmm. Like it's set in stone forever. So you can play 50 years into the future and there's no Super League, there's no changes to the World Cup or Euros. I'd like a system in place that can randomly generate stuff like that. Like, they want the World Cup every 2 years now. Or a Super League, or minor changes, like
like even like what if you had like a country had a war, you know, and like all of a sudden it just shuts down for like a year, and you're like, okay,
or you have those Barcelona-esque collapses that you get reported to everyone, and then everybody swarms in on the club to try and pick apart all the players and stuff, and see if you can get any bargains and make that more involved. Like the world lives a bit more, I think, and changes over time.
Mm-hmm. I think that would make
even silly little changes, like in 10 years' time they decided to make the Premier League 18 teams, they decided to, stuff that happens all the time. Every year we talk about changes and VAR and all that sort of stuff.
And the other thing, I think it's also, in their defense, it's super easy to think of these things. I'm just amazed that the game holds together for as long as it does. Because most sports things, they fall apart after like 10 years. You have everyone scoring like 60 goals and the score is like 12. It's just crazy. That just the fact that So fair play. It's that would be really hard to do on a larger scale, but just to make it, like you said, like a little bit more of a breathable world. Yeah, it feels like it's not quite.
Because I'd even suggested it as a separate DLC. I'd be happy for once a year, Sports Interactive to release a £5, £10 DLC, and the £10 DLC could be the dynamic world, so you don't have to have all these random events if you didn't want to, but it adds that random events and rules changes and league changes and stuff to it almost. And if to avoid being sued by Premier League for changing the rules in game, which is random stuff that happens nowadays, you could then sell it as a DLC and call it like a fantasy world, like this is not the real, this is like a what if type thing. It's not real, so they're not saying that that's the real part and everything. But I think that could really be really interesting if years down the line, random stuff like how it was always interesting with Brexit, which way it was going to go. And now we know it's always bad that it goes. But like before, the previous version, when we didn't know which way it was going to go, like that was always interesting because you never knew what you're going to get. Imagine that, but on a world scale, like of all the leagues.
And like 50 events like that happen all over the world. And then stuff happens in like South America when you're down there. I'd be like,
World War III starts and Spain's gone. It's just all Portugal now. Like it's,
global
I don't know why I've decided
the
that World War III is going to break out between Portugal and Spain.
Global warming. Your pitch is now 5 feet underwater.
I think that would be an awesome thing to have in the game, and for the sort of storylines that we're trying to make. I mean, that would just make our lives so easy. You wouldn't actually need to think at all. It would just be all there in front of you, and just follow.
One of the thoughts I even had was just create a deck of cards, like 100. Like just make your own, create a deck, and you just randomly draw one, and then you just have to live by those consequences. I mean, you could with I think a Journeyman now, if you wanted to get creative, take something like that and then just impose the rules upon your game.
Yeah, the only problem is you can't apply it to the other team. So if you said, I can only sign French players in Belgium, you can't then tell all the other teams to only sign French. It's just you signing.
Yeah,
That's the only. But there is certain things you could definitely do that way.
Yeah.
I bet that's going to be Journeyman, FM 23 or something for you, Zilla, isn't it?
I don't know. I was toying around with that idea a little bit, and now this conversation
it's like Hearthstone,
really
but it's FM's like FM Stone, and just make it like a card game that you play instead.
Yeah, just randomly pick a card.
Yeah.
You died. Game over.
You have contracted dysentery.
Lower all your rankings, but stats by 10.
Talking of the rankings, I'd say for me, all my views are much smaller on what I want. I want little stuff here and there. Like I was saying in just a video the other day, I moved between clubs on a Thursday and I had a match on the Saturday. And it's like in real life, the manager would sit in the stands, make the assistant go do it. And
or you
notes,
get asked
right?
about it when you took over. They just say, hey, you've got a match in 2 days. Do you want the assistant to take charge for this one? Like, you should be able to decide if you want to jump straight in.
That sort of thing. Obviously press conferences, there's always an answer that you can't give, and there's always an answer you can't give in a board meeting or whatever that I would rather was there than isn't. I'd like to see probably more connection between the manager's attributes and the game, because your manager, I mean, I've just moved clubs, and I won't say where because Custard Prophet's listening and he still watches my series, but I've just moved clubs literally in an episode that's going to be recorded soon, and I do not think I'm even remotely qualified for the position compared to some of the other managers that are available who have got far better attributes than me. And at the same time, I'd quite like to see like a way in which you can develop yourself, a bit like the salary thing, but a way in which you can develop your own attributes. So you can say, you know what, I'm going to take this time working on my goalkeeping coaching. I want to work on goalkeeping coaching for the next year and boost those attributes. And that would be a really cool touch, because
the only problem is I like it, but because the attributes are kind of broken for managers. I don't even know. It's like how they change, how they decide what goes up, like how your adaptability. I had a massively successful journeyman, traveled the world, winning all sorts, and my adaptability was horrendous. I'm like, that should be 20, like, and for some reason it's dropped to like 2.
It doesn't work this year, right? It doesn't work in FM22. It didn't work in FM21, and then they fixed it halfway through, and it started to go up. But now this year it's frozen again.
Well, speaking as someone who once got a 22 in working with youngsters, I'm not sure it's working particularly well. FM21,
sorry, FM21.
Not 2.2, was it?
Yeah. No, it was definitely a 22, but no, it's the same thing. It is completely broken, because you do start off with nothing. If you're doing a Sunday league, no badges, you start off with 1s and 2s and the odd 3, and it sort of builds up, but you have no control over how it grows.
Yeah, like you would know yourself, like, actually, I want to learn better at scouting players. I want to get better, so you just in your own time. Almost as if you need a profile page where you have some of that personal stuff we were talking about, and housing relationships or whatever it is, something that you can pay for your own coaching courses, and also on that page have all that information and stuff. Like, this month I want to focus, like you're having training, this month I want to focus on, my goalkeeping coaching, and be able to choose which area you're focusing on, I think.
Yeah.
And your board will say no. Not allowed to do that.
Yeah, how dare you do your job?
I wonder if there is anything in that. I wonder if you go into the trainings tab and set yourself as the goalkeeping coach, if those attributes will boost any faster.
I've tried that this year. It hasn't worked. My goalkeeping is still all 1s, and I've gone in and I've made myself the goalkeeping coach.
Okay. So
it hasn't helped, and then I just gave up.
There seems to be a sort of forgotten lucky dip element to the way the manager seems to improve. There's not that many people care about it. If you think that a lot of people play one club saves that they pick at the beginning, it's kind of irrelevant. Or that whole manager page of any numbers for the manager is kind of irrelevant to the person that's not.
Well, you set them once and then you really probably never look at them again. But for the journeyman, it's like, that's the fun place. It's like, oh, look, I'm like, I don't totally suck anymore.
It is still nice to see you develop, even if you are at just one club, isn't it? It's kind of fun. I mean, I think I've been doing 16 seasons now at Liège, and I've only just completed all of my coaching badges. They in the first
we need
season,
you in training, mate. You can't do it. We need you in training. No, we ain't got the budget, mate. We ain't got the budget.
Well, the first season, what they decided to do was to tell me, right, we're going to build a new stadium, and we were like £20 million in debt, and I've been in debt ever since. It's
trying to pay off the stadium.
16 seasons worth of debt.
Being really dodgy tax write.
Right. So I kind of, before we kind of signed off, I wanted to just talk a little bit about the what you do within saves rather than kind of the things around the save. So when you sort of move to a sort of halfway through, you've been at one club for a while, and you're sort of looking to make the move to another club, what is your kind of strategy to what clubs are you sort of looking to move to, and are you kind of looking anywhere that will take you, or have you got kind of a strategy to in the back of your mind with all those sort of things?
Are they hiring? They're hiring.
I have one type of club.
Employ me, please, sir.
I have one type
please,
of
sir,
club.
may I have a job
that I really hate going to, and that is clubs that are expected to like win a league. I don't like that expectation, even if it's like a lower league, and they're like, no, we've just been relegated. You take charge, you win the league. Because I feel like sometimes I need a bit of time to learn the club and the players and find the tactic that works for that club. And when it's just like, oh no, you have to win the league, which means if you have about first 10 games of the season, you could be fired. They're the ones I'm scared of. Anything else, I'm all right with. I'll go with the flow. If it's a nice area, house pricing, that's always important. The good areas, places to walk the dogs and the cats, because we look on Google Maps, obviously, when we get it, and have a look around the stadium and where we're going to be living and stuff. So, good
don't
area.
you only look after you've gone there though? Because wasn't there one? I saw one where you were in Russia, and you get to like that place way in the side. Like every one of your games was 8,000-mile road trip.
Yeah, it was an island which I didn't even know existed.
I remember that.
North of Japan. Like I had no idea.
So
this place ever existed. And
I still remember the introduction in the boat that you did. That's brilliant.
Yeah, that's right. So you're telling me like you look beforehand, but it's like I don't remember that about you.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I do that after the fact.
Right.
I love the discovery and realizing I've like some of the places we've looked at on Google Maps have been a really bit. One of them we couldn't work out if I had grass on the pitch because it was just a weird color. Like it was just strange. Yeah. So.
For me, it was this year was the walking thing. So I had this circle that I could go to. So it was like, okay, what's in the circle that's anywhere better than what we've got right now?
Did you do it radius? So if you say ran 20 miles, all directions gets bigger?
Yes.
So it wasn't like you didn't have to like, I want to go here. You weren't like drawing a line to go to this country. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was
go
both.
Anywhere within 50 miles.
So like I tallied the miles and the distances and then added them up. And so, say we had like 200 miles in the bank. Then I just draw a radius around. And you could go anywhere. I could go anywhere within that. And then once we moved, I put a dot on the middle of the pitch and then the middle on the pitch we're going to and subtracted those miles from the total. Good. And then just whatever's left over, then we start going again.
Right. So I guess one of the other big things about the Journeyman, or the slightly different thing about a Journeyman versus a sort of one club save, is that a lot of the time you're moving to a club maybe halfway through a season, which means that you don't have an awful lot of time to actually prepare for the next game because it's the next day and you don't know any of the players. So how do you kind of adapt to that when you've kind of jumping in there, you've got no idea of tactics, anything like that, you've got no time to prepare? What are your strategies?
I do it very poorly.
Ask assistant. Select squad, ask assistant. Unpicked positions. You do have. You can have a scout around, but there is only so much you can know in the first instance. And you can work out which players are good and which ones are not. You can look at what they did last game, and if they got smashed 4-0, don't do that. But there is only so much you can do very, very quickly, and especially when it comes to transfers and things. Like when I joined Falkirk, it was the 27th of January. That was not a good decision. I don't recommend doing that. Do it at the beginning of the window, or don't do it at all. But yeah, a lot of it's mad panic and just desperately trying to piece something together. But so many times you do in a Journeyman, you'll move to another club and it'll just work like it did for me at Falkirk. And you'll be looking and going, what was
I don't understand
doing? Yeah, but no, you must have had it before. You're taking on a club and you just go, what was the previous manager doing? I can't lose if I try. Like I took on the team 9th, which is 9th of 10 in Scottish Championship, and I got them promoted through the playoffs that year, and I took it on the 27th of January. And I don't know what the previous manager was doing.
I think morale is so important in that dressing room atmosphere, and a lot of that, some of that gets reset when they sack the manager. So the dressing room atmosphere gets a big boost because they've got rid of the guy they hated. So I think because it's like when you can be a good team and just get unlucky in a couple of games, and then you go on the bad run, because I think your morale in the dressing room atmosphere just falls through the floor, and that's so important in this game. So I think that it helps when they can get rid of a manager and you come in and they're like, oh, anybody's better than that last guy, sort of thing. You get a bit more of a clean slate to work, a reset to work off, New manager bump is a
but the manager bump, isn't that a real thing?
Yeah, it's a real thing. Yeah,
it's not horrible anymore, regardless of who you are. You're better than whoever that
thank
last
God,
person
not
was.
Mourinho.
Right. I wasn't going to use that name, but that did come to mind. Yeah.
And so, are you using a tactic that you've taken that was working brilliantly in the previous club, or are you making?
I generally have. Sort of halfway through the Journeyman, I'll generally have a tactic that I quite like that's relatively simple that I will just stick on anyone. Like if I'm not sure going in, like say you take a job and you've got 3 days before the game, I'm like, okay, we're going to do this 4-4-2 because it's simple. Nobody's going to get confused because footballers are quite prone to confusion. And and then I'll go, okay, what worked from it? And then build off of that. Or if I've got a bit more time, redo it. So I'll have that, keep that as a backup whilst then making the new team its own tailored tactic, but having that as just in case my tactic is shit and I've done it all wrong and I have to just fall back to the 4-4-2 and it'll be fine.
I tend to go with I have very similar to that, but I have 2 or 3. So I have one if I have good wingers, I have one if I do not have good wingers. You know, I have one if I have 2 good strikers or 3 good strikers. I have one if there's only 1 or 0 good strikers, and you can sort of. I basically, it's going to be a very narrow formation or attacking wingers or 2 up top, and then you work it out from there. But I will look first to see, because I've done it before where I've gone into a club and gone, right, I've been playing a 4-3-1-2 narrow, and that's what I'm going to do. And I did that for about 4 months before realizing the left winger was the best player in the team, and he wasn't getting a look in because I wasn't playing a left winger. So I will run through everything, but I will, at least at the beginning, default to one of 2 or 3 shapes.
Are you more likely to adapt to the players you have or gut the team and buy players to your liking that fits your tactic? Which way do you sway more to?
We'll go back to that beginning or end of a transfer window thing.
Just generally speaking, are you if you're once come into a club, are you like, right, everybody out, new people?
I think it depends a lot on what the club's doing. If the club's sitting towards the bottom end of the league, I'll gut it and start again. If the club's sort of firing all right, there's no reason to. And especially at this level of Journeyman I'm at the minute, there's not usually the budget to either. So I'll probably work with what I've got, but I will be very fickle early on. So if someone pisses me off, I
am terrible. I'm like a toddler sometimes with the little things a player can do that will make me hate him for the rest of his life and means he has a terrible footballing career.
This person
just because he just did something simple, like got a yellow card or something in the wrong time.
My first season in the Scottish Prem, Celtic. Right, I had 2 right backs sent off in the first half.
I saw your video today. Yeah,
that was fun.
About that,
yeah, so one of them's never going to play for me again. But
he doesn't know that now, but he will never play.
He will when he watches this.
but it can be something so petty. Oh, he's not certain he approves of the amount of strength training there is. Does he not?
Not? I said well done when he had a good game, and he was like, "What the fuck are you on about?" And now I hate him.
I
love that one when you praise a player and they're like, "I don't know what you're talking about. I played shit." So you don't know what you're. I'm like, what? Who would ever say that? Even if you knew you had a terrible game, if your boss said to you, "Well done," you go, "Thanks." You wouldn't go, "Actually, boss, I think you'll find I played terribly."
It's like when you press encourage. When you press encourage pre-match and you get all the sad faces along the bottom. You've been encouraged.
I said at the FA Cup final recently, and I'm like, okay, team talk, we've got to nail this one. And I'm like, we're underdogs, small team in the Premier League. I'm like, hey, we were good, great to get here. This is a great experience. Just enjoy it, have a nice time. And they all got pissed off because I was putting too much pressure on them. I'm like, how is that pressure? What I just said is the opposite of putting pressure on you. I've said just enjoy. And they're like, oh my God, boss, it's too much. I'm like,
I once had a team meeting and I said, what are we planning on doing next season? And I said, we're going to finish bottom. And they went, that's a bit much.
Well, you're optimistic.
Yeah, just going to give up before we start.
Yeah, when it's so embarrassing, it's so sad when you say to your team, hey guys, look, we just got promoted. I think we can fight. We can be in with a fight. We're going to fight bravely against relegation. And they're like, no. I'm like, wow, team. Wow, that's really belief, that is. There were no chance, boss. Absolute idiot for thinking we have the possibility of staying up.
Right, so the last thing I wanted to talk about is plans for Journeyman in FM22. And I know, Loki, you've already at least announced that you're going to be doing a Journeyman for FM22,
Yes.
which I think lots of people will be very, very excited about. But as I understand it, it's still very much in development. Is that kind of where you are at the
so
minute?
I did a video the other day asking for sort of ideas and suggestions. I don't like to put too many regulations and rules around my Journeyman because I like it to be quite free-flowing and just go where the wind blows me type thing. But I'm going to do something on it, and I asked for some suggestions, which I'm going through at the moment. But there will be a twist, and I haven't worked out what area of the world we're going to yet either. So might be due for a trip to Asia or something, I think.
Nice.
Fun.
Because
I'm so good with pronunciations.
Yeah.
But you might find another Sing the Ping, so, you know.
There you go, yeah.
Yeah, he was awesome. And what about the other two?
I think Sing the Ping. I think it was once that he played a ball up the line about 80 yards. That was successful. And just based on that, his legend grew.
That's all you need. One
Name
moment.
that people thought. It's like, yeah, just hoofs it forward. And he's like, yeah, Sing the Ping.
I haven't decided. I'm not really sure. I think I might do something again, kind of with the walking type of theme, but make it more straight line, like up the Nile or something like that, or something down in South America, go someplace different. And I kind of have been thinking.
What about for each mile you get £1 of transfer budget or $1 of transfer budget?
Ooh.
So if you want to spend money on players, you have to literally earn it by running.
1 mile to £1 might be tough. $1 million. I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot for a player.
How much do you want for this player? And they go $1 million. You're like, fuck me, that is a lot of money. The new FM's going to be the FM's 35 by the time you get that one.
Get 1,000 miles this week.
But imagine how much you'd negotiate a deal, though. If
Oh
they
my
said
God.
they wanted $2,000 for a player, you'll be like, no. What about 1,750? Like that's like 250 miles. It's a lot.
We could do like a multiplier though to make it work. You know,
Yeah,
like 1 mile, right? Is £100 or something like that. Yeah. Well, that could be. That's a pretty good idea.
If you want to play easy mode, then yeah, fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, if you're not mad
I might try
enough to
something
do
too, like
one
that,
1 mile a dollar. I think that's.
Oh my God, the Premier League would be brutal. Just like no one can play. Yeah, I kind of like that event card thing too. I might play around. with that.
I bet you are going to do that. I'm almost certain of it. Given the other sort of content you've got on your channel, I think it would.
For every 100
really
miles,
nicely.
you get to pick a card. So
Well,
your
they did,
motivation is because they can be good things and bad things. So your motivation is to get whatever distance you decide to get to
Or
the
even
next
like
one.
just
to
like
be able to
certain
open a
points
card.
in the year, like open the transfer window, something like that. Like at 3 times end of the
Well, like
season.
you're coming up to the last game of the season and you're going to gamble on a buff, so you have to get your 100 miles in like the night before. I need the card for the last game of the season.
There have been a couple times like that where it's like, okay, I gotta get 50 miles in the next 3 days here. It's like, okay, let's go.
And TTFM, what are your plans for FM22?
I'm stepping away from Journeyman because as much as my favourite mode of playing, it's not been my most successful on the channel. And I'm stepping away from it. I like to do a Journeyman maybe towards the second half of the year, like the one I'm doing now, because there's a lot less pressure on it to just go, you know what, I'll just do what I want. So I'm going to do something resembling the San Marino challenge save I did 2 years ago.
That was
Because
awesome.
Like a build a nation type.
Yeah, by far and away my most successful series. I mean, I've got Loki will laugh. I've got a good couple of thousand views on the first video of that, and that's ridiculous for a guy with 300 subs. So
That's amazing.
That was a song. It's not going to be San Marino again, but it's going to be a club and country type save.
Yeah.
Way back north. So I'm thinking Andorra, but I might get sued by dodgy.
Northern Ireland, it's always there, just saying, you know.
Northern Ireland option, certainly. I could take Tobermoor United back to the top.
I am trying to force you to do Gibraltar, I think. Or I'm trying to force someone to do Gibraltar.
To be fair, Gibraltar is tempting. Because Andorra is, don't let dodgy gaming here, but it's kind of easy mode because they're already in the Spanish league quite low down. They're not. I remember looking at them when he first started his, thinking they're 120 ranking points better than San Marino. Like, how have they done that? But I'm not going to do San Marino again because the other thing is it relies on a data pack to get San Marino Calcio and Serie D and all that sort of thing. So I want something like, because the Gibraltar League is in the game from the start.
It is in the game, but I think it's one you have to download, so it doesn't automatically appear in the game, but it is in the game. Right. So it is SI do make the league.
Yeah, I'm looking for something that I can start from day one, because I've too many of my series start 2 months after the game released, because I'm waiting for data pack. So I'm looking for a club and country save, but I'm not settled on yet. But it'll be something resembling San Marino, and it'll be day 1, November the 9th.
What about if you made the Isle of Wight into its own country and league?
That would fail the data pack.
Get somebody for database for that. That'd be great.
I was toying with sort of something around the Isle of Wight at some point in the future.
You did Cornwall.
Actually, I do Cornwall, but you have to do Truro City, and that's going to be fun. I suppose you could create Cornwall as a nation and Truro City as its own club.
It's pretty much what they want it to be anyway, isn't it?
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Custer, do you have ideas for yours then?
Yeah, I was going to say, your show.
I'm still trying to work it out. I think I might go back to my ABC Journeyman idea, where it's a UK-based journeyman where I have to start at sort of level 10. I have to start in a club that starts with the letter A, and I can only then move to a club that starts with the letter B, and I basically see how far I can get through the alphabet.
You can't waver from that.
No.
So it has to be B.
Yeah.
And it ends when you get to Q.
What happens when you get to X?
I don't think I'll be getting to X.
Okay, yeah. So, to be fair, that's optimistic, isn't it?
Well, even like Q, isn't Q?
Yeah, well, Q's up there, though, isn't it? Like he's going to have
UK,
to go to 20 odd clubs to get to...
Yeah, it's plenty
Queen's
of them.
Park, you can get into the Scottish League too.
Queen's Park Rangers.
Okay, yeah.
There must be some right weird name clubs down at level 10 anyway, so you just stick around there, I imagine.
You've got to kind of hope that you're not still in level 10 by the time you
just
get to
pub
Q,
names
sure.
at that point, aren't they, generally speaking?
The dog and duck.
It's not necessarily about success, it's just about going through the alphabet. I'm sure that's what the viewers want to see.
Yeah, they just want to see what letters next. That's what they're there for.
That's it.
As fast as you can.
My phone is going for L today, everyone. Let's watch this tune in.
That could be kind of cool, because you could go for China for X or something like that. You know, there's got to be
not
X's.
in a UK German. You can't. Well, maybe you can. I don't know.
Mad Nations.
What's that?
Could you manage England for your E?
Yeah, that would work.
If you're at England for your 5th club, you've done well.
Yeah.
Moved up the league. Yeah, and then you would never be able to get any of the lower clubs anyway. So, yeah, probably shoot yourself in the foot.
You got the Fulham next.
Yeah, sort of Roy Hodgson's sort of career path then, is it? Fair enough. Well, it has been an absolute joy to speak to you all. Thank you very much for coming on to this Football Manager Focus episode. I think we covered a fair amount today, I think.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks so much for putting this together.
It has been awesome. I thought I had the right balance when I picked you lot, and
I told you at the start, mate. Nobody's going to realise it's a green screen. It's fine. All right.
What do you mean?
Exactly. Nobody will know what we're even talking about.
What would really freak you out is if
that was the green screen. You'd put that on the green screen. That's so meta. I like it.
I thought it was a tablecloth and you're kind of sitting on the floor.
Yeah, you always Peter sitting on the floor like a toddler.
That's the tent.
Horizontal, floating above the table.
Yeah, exactly. He's lying in a green bed currently.
That's the pillow.
He's very weird. He keeps his monitors on the ceiling.
It comes in useful sometimes, I have to say. Yeah, so
what shape, to be honest.
What I'll say, anyone who is watching this, and there's probably nobody who's going to be watching this after this, but please subscribe to these wonderful creators' channels. All the links will be in the descriptions down below, so make sure you head down there and click the link and the sub button. So I will say goodbye to the 3 creators. Goodbye, and I will say goodbye from me. Big thanks to those 3 creators, Loki Doki, Zilla Blitz, and That Trucking Football Manager. Details of their channels can be found in the description below, so make sure you go over and check their content out and give them a subscription. 3 excellent creators that you should be watching. In the comments below, let us know your best Journeyman stories. Can you beat Loki's story in the Uruguayan leagues? Maybe you can. Also in the comments, let us know what would you like to be featured in future episodes of Football Manager Focus, and who would you like to see on? If you have enjoyed this episode, make sure you hit that like button. Please subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you for the next one. Goodbye.